Welcome to the Hawks Nest live stream show. My name is Brandon Kane, and I do thank you for tuning on in. You know I do. And today we've got a little bit of a curveball topic here for you. We're neither talking about the offense, neither the defense, neither really the coaching staff on this one. Today we're going to talk about a little bit of a rule change that's occurred this year that I think is going to bring some major impact back into the NFL when it comes to that third rail of NFL teams, being the special teams unit. And we've seen so many times in recent years that the special teams has been kind of reduced down in its effectiveness at times. Now, granted, the kickers are getting better at kicking longer kicks and being more accurate with that, but you have punters that are also able to kick it higher, longer, farther, more directional than ever before. You also have the NFL legislating out in certain respects rules as far as that help then limit, especially on kickoffs, moving the kick up, moving the kick back. You can't hold your hands on the kickoff like you could to create that wall of blockers to really then open things up there for the kick returner. So things really got reduced down as far as kickoffs go, and the NFL seemed to realize this a couple of years ago and then start to try to move it the other direction. So we've seen the down kick now go from the 20 to the 25 to the 30. And now the new rule coming into place this year is that if a kick gets downed inside the end zone on kickoffs, you're going to get the ball at the 35-yard line. And this may seem like a very small little item at play here, but I think as we kind of pull this apart a little bit more and more, and this will be a pretty quick show today, but as we pull this apart a little more on this show today, I think you're going to see a little bit that this is actually going to bring pretty good impact, I think, to the sport. It's going to bring kickoffs back into play. It already kind of started last year with the changes that you implemented in, but I also think that the Seattle Seahawks have a couple of separate reasons I'll get to that I think are really going to be impacted by this more than your average team. There's a couple things in this that I think are going to add on top of that. But let's take a look really quickly, if we can, at some of the impact of the coverage changes just last year. Moving it simply from the 25 to the 30-yard line. Did that have a tangible effect? What is the impact of that, if you were? And what we saw, if I can bring it up here, I had it all ready to go, and then then it's out, it's gone. Here we go. So here's your kickoff impact today that we've got from the last year. Just kind of a summation of it here. Your return rate went up by almost 11%. So you go from 21.8% in 2023 to 32.8%. As far as an increase there goes, your return average yards was 27.5. That is definitely up from the prior year. You've got 45 plus yard returns. That number went up to 35 from 16. So that more than doubled the number of 45 plus yard returns that you had. And then the average field position start was 30.1 yards, which is up from 25.6 yards in 2023. So a 5-yard difference there, but that's a big difference in the NFL. 5 yards makes quite a bit of, quite an impact on that. As far as how your Seahawks and this impacted them, on kind of both rungs of this, so to speak. So how did you kick off and return? Were you effective at that? And then how did you defend it? And then how did we do as we compare that to last season to get a general idea of the impact and what happened there with it? So in 2023 on kickoff returns, you averaged fourth in the NFL, really good in that respect. You had 26.2 average returns. So you can see even in a year there where you were top 5 in return yardage that year, you still were below what the return yard average was for this year NFL-wide. Speaks to how much this did bring this into an impact and raised everything up that little bit across the board on this. So you had 25 returns also in 2023, meaning those are 25 returns where you've taken it out of the end zone, you didn't down it, the ball didn't get kicked back through the back of the end zone. You had 25 of those returns. Now, when you go to 2024, you see that you had an average of 28. So we actually see our average go up by almost 2 yards. But look at the NFL rank. Your rank is actually at 15th. You go from 4th last year with 26.2 to now you're middle of the road with a 28-yard average. And so there's, you can feel a little bit of that. Everybody, the rising tide lifted all the boats on this one. Everybody got a bit of the benefit of this. And you also see it with the returns where you go from the prior year of only having 25 returns to 38. So you didn't double it, but you did increase quite a substantial amount from what you had last year to bring this part of the game back into sort of as not a centerpiece to the game, but just that it has an impact again in that way. As far as defensively goes, in 2023, your NFL rank was 21st in your defending kickoffs. The average return there was 22.2. And then you had 22 returns as far as that you actually had where you didn't just have Jason Myers kick it through the back of the end zone. Seahawks did a lot of that with Coach Carroll and trying to have him, do that. And I would do that too as a coach. Why even take the risk at that point? In 2024, you saw your rank go from 21st to 16th. Yet, like we saw on the other side of this, look at how substantially your return average went up. You go from being 21st in your NFL rank with 22.2 average yards returned to going to 27.9 as your average return, yet you're 16th ranked in the NFL. So you improved your ranking despite the fact that you gave up almost 5 more yards on kickoff returns. And you have 40 returns versus the 22. So you almost doubled the amount of returns that you had to defend last year versus the prior year there on that. So there was an impact here to your Seattle Seahawks. It did come into play. Of course, a little bit of what happened with us last year with our kickoffs is it was a freaking nightmare. It was awful. We had D. Williams back there who was not a good returner and then really struggled to be able to just catch the ball. I called the guy the Muff Man because the Muff Man cannot catch the ball. And then we saw this like a virus sort of get infected into Laviska Shenault, who was supposed to be this really grade A dynamic kick returner we were hoping we were getting back. But then he fumbled, and you had to end up releasing both of the two guys, I think, in the bye week. You just let them both go. And you said, to hell with this. Let's just go Jalen Durden, and let's get it done and call it a day on that one. And so you definitely didn't get as much of the benefits of this because of some of the return game being negated as it is on that. But let's also look at just a couple of other things on this that I think can kind of show you some of the measurable impact. But the other thing I want to show you with this is how I feel like Seattle's a little bit separate from some of the other teams out there and how much this is going to impact them versus other teams that, let's say, for instance, play in the dome or climate-controlled conditions a lot of the time. So that sort of thing. But I'll get to that point here one second. So let's bring this up. I want to show you a bit of the numbers here I was noticing on this. Let me fit this to frame. All right, so I know this is going to be kind of hard to see a little bit because the writing is so very small, but what I want to show you guys with this is just the impact of the yardage, just total return for your Seattle Seahawks perspective of things. So if I look at special teams and your kick return yardage and who had the most kick return yardage last year being the Cincinnati Bengals, Dallas Cowboys, Washington Commanders. I'll go a little bit tighter on this so you guys can see a bit here, because I know the writing is super small. So we've got this by this category right here, your kickoff returns. So it's going to be about the 7th one over. And you can see here, Bengals, you got the Hawks, though, they're at 5th. So they had the 5th amount of total kickoff return yardage, even though our ranking on average was kind of in that middle of the road place of things. You had more total kick return yardage, you can see there on that side of this. But this also worked that way when it came for the defense. Because when I go to that far right-hand column here, which is going to be your opponent's kickoff return yardage, there on the right side, and I filter by that and look at who gave up the most amount of yards on kickoff returns, you can see your Seattle Seahawks were also 6th there on this. So 5th on kickoff returns, 6th in defending as far as total yards go. So there's just more of this play producing yards when it comes to your Seattle Seahawks. And I think the reason on this has to do a lot with the condition, the climate, not the climate, but the stadium you play in and the climate conditions that are around it and what impacted teams to have issues at times last year with not being able to just get the ball in the back of the end zone and having them take it out at the 30-yard line. Not to mention there was some teams out there that were trying to just purposely kick to them to try to see if they can hold them back, behind the 20-yard line. Those ballsy kind of teams. Here's the NFL scoring, and I want to bring this into this in a second, but we're going to be just taking a look at this. Just keep in mind of this as well that what we've had with NFL scoring in recent years is there's been a little bit of a stopping of the process. We thought once we got into 2020, as you can kind of see here, that with 24.8 points on average per game, you were at your high water mark. You've got 13 and 18 in there, but what you'll notice is that the last 2 years haven't been, over the last 25 years, the highest scored games, that the trend didn't necessarily continue as we saw kind of a stopping a little bit of scoring, where when you look at this chart, for instance, you have 2023, which is over the last 10 years, you had the 10th fewest amount of points scored essentially for 2023. And now it did improve a little bit as you got back to 22.9 from 2024 last year. And that, of course, increase probably was largely on the back of this kickoff return. If you took off the kickoff return, you're probably right around in that same place that we saw 2023, which was just a little bit of a limiting as far as scoring goes on that side of it. And so the reason I mention this is because Scoring becomes more valuable than really ever over the last 20, 25 years. Getting points, being in a position to score points is in that way. And it's not just as easy peasy as getting up the field as ever before because of the cover two shell defenses, because now we're going to see more of the running game impacting the sport. And when you get more of the running game coming into play, when we get 10 guys that are going to have more than 300 touches at the running back position over the course of the year, what is that going to do to football games? Squish them down. It's going to cause less possessions, less throwing, less opportunities to go out there and to score. So this ball now being at the 35-yard line when that comes into play is going to be highly beneficial to offenses, because if you can just go up and get yourself a couple of first downs, you're going to be in field goal range. At the 40-yard line, that's a 57-yard field goal. So 35 to the 40-yard line, a couple of first downs where you get a few extra yards on top of that side of it, and bingo, bam, you're in the field goal range and you can kick yourself up a field goal. And this is where we come back to now the couple of different ways that this could impact your Seahawks. First and foremost, you have the conditions of the stadium. When you saw last year the coaches trying to figure out what to do with this kickoff rule, you saw many special teams coaches default down to, we're just going to boot this thing through the back of the end zone and call it a day. We're not messing around with this. We're going to let the lay of the land kind of settle to figure out what's what and what we have to do. And then maybe we'll adjust it maybe a year down the line, but we just want to kick this thing through the back of the end zone. But then what will happen is that in inclement weather stadiums and windy weather stadiums, which is certainly something we get down by Lumen Field, is that you're going to have half a stadium where the wind might be blowing up against you on kickoffs. And so like we saw with the very first kickoff return of the year with DJ Dallas and the Arizona Cardinals, week 1 in Buffalo, you're in Buffalo with all of that windy weather. Buffalo's trying to kick it through the back of the end zone. The kicker cannot get enough on it. DJ gets it about the 3-yard line. He takes it up and he houses it. And so having this weather in the stadium is going to affect this in that way, where there's going to be kickoffs coaches want to put through the back of the end zone and they just can't. Lands at the 3, you're going to get your opportunities to go and then take it. But the other way that I think that this is going to benefit the Seattle Seahawks is going to be in the nature of the fact that the defense you're running, or what you're ideologically trying to accomplish defensively, and how we felt some of that accomplishment even last year to this specific point. And what I mean by that is that this new rule change, putting the ball at the 35-yard line, this is not going to benefit the Coach Carroll style of defenses, the Robert Saleh style of defenses, the bend but don't break kind of defenses, those that are willing to give up a couple of first downs and then they tighten everything down and now you're all of a sudden got nowhere else to go and they've shut you down on the other side of the field, or they've started to do some more of their blitzing and get a little bit more risk taking once you've gotten to that side of the field. Whereas if you have the kind of defense that's just trying to stop you, we're not trying to give you anything. We don't want to slowly wait for you to make a mistake. We want to force the mistake down upon you. Those are the defenses that are going to benefit, I think, with this new rule change, because now you're not giving them those 2 first downs to go and get into that field goal range. Now it's a matter of you getting the 3 and outs, you making sure that that's how you're getting off the field and getting off the field quickly in that way. And to kind of give you guys a little bit of some proof to the pudding on this one, when we look at Seattle Seahawks last year and we look at their defense and we look at really the percentage of scoring drives, so percentage of drives ending in an offensive score, what is the percentage you're running as a defense on that? And we see the Carolina Panthers are the worst defense in the NFL at this at 51.4%, right there at the top. So half of their drives ended in a scoring opportunity for the opposing offenses. The Jaguars, Jets, like I said, Robert Saleh, right? This is why I wanted to mention Saleh on this, is that you have the Jets there with Saleh led, 44%. San Francisco 49ers, Saleh's going back to them this year. They were at 44%. Arizona Cardinals, 43%. Rams. So we have, basically you have kind of some bend but don't breaks going on in here, don't you? Because these aren't bad teams. Niners had a bad year. Jets had a bad year, of course, but the Rams, Cardinals weren't horrible. But you can see that they're up there in that kind of almost near flirting with the 50% rate. These are the teams to me that are not going to benefit off the back of this new rule change. But when we go all the way down the list, we come to your Seattle Seahawks, which it's 26th here, but let me do it this way. This looks better. If I do it by actually the ones that do good instead of doing by bad, you can see your Seattle Seahawks were 7th in the NFL with only 34% of offensive drives resulting in a scoring opportunity. So it's the nature of the beast here. This is by designs. This is the change in the lay of the land from the prior defense. You want to shut people down. You're not just trying to let them fall into their mistakes. And they'll make a mistake eventually. We just got to limit the big plays. We just got to keep them in front of us. And eventually that'll go down like that. Or you're trying to say, well, we just want them to kick field goals. That's another thing with the bend but don't break defenses. We'll let them kick the field goals. We don't let them get touchdowns. Our offense will score touchdowns. We win the game. That's great in theory. But what happens when almost every single drive you're allowing a field goal to now happen? Which may be the case here as we go through this a little bit, where you're seeing more field goals now to where, oh my God, we gave up 5, 6, 7 field goals over the course of the game because we're allowing so many sustained drives in there versus the team that can just shut you down and shut you down instantaneously. So this rule, I think, is going to come in and have a big effect on your Seattle Seahawks for the stadium that you play in and how that plays out in that way and all of the conditions that come in, the wind, the wet, the cold, all of that combination working together. Does that allow the ball to travel further or shorter? Shorter. So how you defend these kicks, how you're able to take advantage of that on the other side is going to be a big, big part. You may be being able to take this special teams unit this year, and rather than it being, that wasn't a weakness last year. Dixon had a great year. Jason Myers had a great year. You did do some things as far as kickoff return stuff that was interesting. Laviska did have a touchdown, so it wasn't all bad. But certainly Harbaugh didn't have a smashing success season as your special teams coach in his first year, and there's a lot of room there to improve. But there is a opportunity here, an opportunity for a team that wants to lead with its defense, that wants to run the ball. And what do we know is the final perfect thing that goes with those two combinations, like a well-plated dish in a restaurant? Special teams being a truly impactful force. Not just the third rung, but a true third part of the team coming into play. And with Myers, we'll see if we're in a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde season. Last year was Dr. Jekyll. This is supposed to be Mr. Hyde. We'll see if that holds up because it's been pretty consistent throughout his career, but he is a good kicker. He is a guy with as much leg talent as you'll find in the NFL, and we know Dixon is absolutely sensational. So there's already a lot to kind of work with here from the team's perspective on this, and we'll see if they can find a kick returner. I mean, that's going to be the thing, is who is going to fill this role this year. Durden came in last year and was really good with it once you moved on from Laviska and D. Williams. But if you can take advantage of this element of the game, combine it with those other three parts, this is how we can get this team into a place of now scratching up onto the spot to get to dominance. Your defense can get into kind of a top 10, maybe even flirt with a top 5 state of things. Your offense can find some consistency, maybe even just being middle of the road, being able to run the ball consistently. Darnold playing within himself, not making too many major mistakes, keeping the pass rush at bay as you can. We know that's going to be a big part. And then now comes in the special teams, and it brings the whole room together and allows all three of those parts to interwork to get the most out of this team for this upcoming season in 2025. So don't undersell this new kickoff role. Don't think it's just, it's not going to make any kind of impact. It's going to be very interesting to see what these teams do with this now. Does this cause teams to start to do more pooch kicks? You're going to run the ball up and have the guy try to pick up the 2-yard line. Does this cause teams to try to kick it up high up into the air and see if you can give your team some more chance to get down there? Maybe you kick it high up in the air and you know it's going to land at the 20-yard line, but you know your defenders are going to get down there by that point because you're going to put enough air hang time up on it for them to get down there on that. Could be. I'd be interested to see. And the other part of this is the flip side of this. Does the kickoff return teams that have a kickoff coming in, and let's say it's going to land at the 6-yard line, and now do you just instruct your guys to just let that thing land and roll back into the end zone? I mean, 35-yard line, it's going to be hard to beat that. I showed you guys the stats on this where, you're looking at how you did as far as your impact on your kickoff returns go. And you're at the 28-yard line last year. So if you're talking about gaining 7 more yards on top of that to get to the 35-yard line, wouldn't you just instruct your kickoff return units to let the ball roll into the end zone? They just trust it to go. And then we can get, now this is where I really have fun with this to me, because now you got adjustments for adjustments, because now maybe you get kickers trying to sort of kick the ball off a little bit differently there to then avoid that roll, where they maybe kick it up, where they try to kick it and have it to where it'll be a weird bounce or whatever when it lands, to where they're not just getting the roll that you tend to get on those kickoffs, where just automatically always is going to roll through the back of the end zone. You guys let me know though. Maybe am I off on this one? Am I seeing this one a little bit wrong, oddly, and that the kickoff rules are not going to have this kind of impact that I am foreseeing? It really did feel like your Seattle Seahawks felt it on both ends of the scale on it last year with the changes, and you got both the benefits and you got beat up by it a little bit. But if you can get on the other end of dominating this, I think you've got a real chance to bring this team together to get the most out of them this year. In a year where Vegas is selling you low, What is the pathway to you getting into becoming a team that can be a contending team, to be a team that's assured of a playoff berth and not just you kind of hope for one? All three parts of this team work together in this way, and that you can see how they all benefit one to the other. The running of the ball, the commitment to balanced attack, you controlling the rock. What does that allow you to have? Sustained drives. What did I just talk about getting at the 35-yard line? A couple of first downs get you into field goal range. So this is the bit of the brilliance in the designs and how they've set this up a bit, is that while defensively you're set up to smother teams and shut them down in place, offensively you're made to not be a feast or famine kind of offense. You're made to be an offense that's going to consistently churn out drives. So those are going to be the kind of offenses that are going to benefit off of the back of starting out at the 35-yard line. Now suddenly a Kubiak offense that gets a couple of first downs down the field can go and get themselves a field goal even if the drive stops completely in place, especially when you have a big leg kicker like Jason Myers on the back of it. It's not like the Hauschka days where anything outside of 43 yards, you couldn't rely on him. With Myers, he's got a legit damn near 58-yard like leg that he can put into place. And so you've got that benefit on the back of this to the other side to your offense. But you guys let me know. Maybe I'm off on this or maybe I'm right on it. I do feel like this is going to be highly beneficial to your Seattle Seahawks, and those teams that are bad at special teams are going to pay a very major price this year, because it's not just a part of the game that you just sort of like, it's an automatic play. It's just not even a part of the sport anymore. It doesn't even really matter to now. It's like the NFL's trying to bring this back into focus and make this a real big part of the game once again. I think it's going to be. And I think with it, you're going to see probably scoring continue to go up just a little bit this year, even from where it was last year, moving that 5 yards to the 35-yard line. I think this is a big change. But you guys let me know. Quick show here for you guys today, just a bounce in and a bounce out. If you guys could for me, please do. You know, guys, appreciate it. I got to ask you guys to do it each time, I know, but I really do appreciate it if you guys can hit that like button for me. Does help the channel, helps me grow, helps me show up on the algorithms, all that good kind of stuff. And you know I appreciate it. I really do. We got OTAs kicking off here with Seattle. And so we will be going through and looking at that a little bit if we get any news coming out of it. Sounds like Torrey Horton is out there practicing, which was good to hear. There was some concerns with him on the injury front coming into it, some stuff from what he was dealing with last year, but it's good to hear he's out there and rolling. Sounds like everybody's on the practice field getting after it, which is good to hear. I don't take a lot from OTAs because it's just not padded practice. You're going to hear a lot of people, OTA takeaways. I'm not really going to do a lot of that. I don't think there's a lot there that you can really grasp from within that. I do thank you guys watching today. I want to thank, one second here. So I do want to thank as well Mark Sanchez for getting us another jersey. We got a signed DK Metcalf. Get in here. We got a signed DK Metcalf jersey here from our guy Mark Sanchez on the channel. So we've ordered up another. Got another frame ordered up here, and we're going to put it over there on the right side, have it nice and balanced with the largent one, move the picture over on that. But I just want to thank Mark Sanchez for sending that out. That was really kind of him to do so, and we'll get that plated on up. As well, just letting you guys know too, I'm sure you guys have heard a few times from me on this, but just to let you know, we're going to be doing a meetup session right now. So if you happen to have some free time in early October, I'll put the link in the description section of this video. I didn't do it for yet today, but I will get it in as soon as the stream wraps up today. But the NFC West Roundtable is doing a meetup. It's going to be a Thursday night game in October. It's not a Seahawks game. It's going to be a Rams 49er games, but all of the crew with the Roundtable is going to do a meetup. We're going to be a night before the bar, really out near the stadium. We're going to go to the game. We're going to have tickets all together in place out there on that side of it. So it's the link will be in the description section if you want to join that. I know it's up there in Seattle. I know it's not a Seattle Seahawks game, but it would be cool if we got a couple of Seattleites down there in there to hang out. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. But if you do want to join, it's about $300, but that does include the tickets. It includes access to the event the prior night there at the bars that we're going to have. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm really looking forward to it. If you guys want to join me on that, do look in the description section below as we're trying to get a lot of signups on that if we can to get this all locked down and in place. Femi says, do you think we see more creative punt team defense from Harbaugh? We saw some when he called a good play with Cody White, which led to a block punt. Yeah, I think that you're going to see probably as much as anything, the expansion continue to occur with Harbaugh on the kickoffs, because a lot of those special teams coaches were in just unknown territory, and they were unsure about how they wanted to kind of play it. And so you had a lot of them very tentative, I think, to bring out a lot of wrinkles and whatnot. They kind of wanted to see how it would go. But Harbaugh had some good moments. Yeah, the Laviska Shenault touchdown return, right? You mentioned the Cody White block punt. It wasn't all bad. And it was really probably as much as anything kind of colored by how poor performance you were getting out of your kick returners, specifically D. Williams, who was completely lost last year at times. Just completely lost. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching today. We are going to be back tomorrow with a little bit of a longer show tomorrow, as we're going to be doing a little bit more of a deep dive into Byron Murphy's rookie year. There have been many narratives right now that sort of continue to persist around Byron Murphy. I hear, well, Braden Fisk is better. Look at how many sacks he got versus Murphy. He's going to be a way better player. Wrong. You get the Byron Murphy wasn't very effective last year in the nose tackle. No, he was. You get the narrative that Byron Murphy was actually a dominant nose tackle for you last year. No, he wasn't a dominant, but he had a good year. And I think when I look at the tape, and when we're going to look at this tomorrow, what you're going to see that's going to stand out is he's able to hold on. He's able to get things done at times when he's get the double team, which is a lot of the time. But then in those moments where you do give him the opportunities to get single blocked, and he's just got to simply beat the man in front of him, he is dynamite. He is very, very good. And I think that that's the part that does jump off of tape with him. All the more reason we come back around to the important part. One of the most important parts about this defense coming into next year is going to be getting Byron Murphy into more of single block situations, not having to bear the brunt of the double teams over and over and over again. But I got some great cut-ups to show you tomorrow, Byron Murphy, stuff to get you really hyped up about his play. It was not a disappointing rookie year. It was just one where he had to be the good soldier and play the hard hat role on this defense, and he did so well enough. But he can be absolutely a monster if you can get him out into a 3-tech, or even at times maybe kick him off to the edge like you do with Leonard Williams here and there. I wouldn't mind seeing it, but we will be getting into that tomorrow. I think we're going to be I'm doing an evening show tomorrow. We've got some requests. I know some people can't check out the show during the day. So we'll do a 5 o'clock show. I think I've got it set up for tomorrow to kind of keep you guys on your toes a little bit with this one. But we're going to keep these shows going here throughout this month. Keep them on rolling. I really do appreciate you guys watching. Please do, again, if you could for me, hit that like button, as it does help out this channel tremendously, and I really do appreciate it. Back soon, but until next time, please don't you ever forget, don't you do it. Don't you dare. Go Hawks.